We got there, I think, 5 attractions, 5 little subcategories.
What?
So we went down and tried to pick out every single one under that category that we like.
Oh, so did you get done?
No, with what we did, yes.
Oh. Okay. You said you reached a
Are
saturation.
you disappointed?
Yeah, I know that this could go on for days, but never mind, that's
We got
fine.
2 full pages.
Okay, that's good.
We've got
So-
5 pages.
So I think, so let's key it down, let's go on and we can come back and talk about this if we want, if we have time. And I don't know how long we're gonna stay here, probably not past 9 o'clock. That's my hope, but, I think the other thing that somebody brought up last week that we need to talk about in relation to a situation analysis. So what you've done is a very miniaturized version of a resource analysis, okay? And so the third part of a situation analysis is what we refer to as a market analysis. And this is where you really get the numerical data coming in. And for a place like Trinidad, I think it's not easy to get accurate data. You can get Colorado data, you can probably even get some county level data, but it's really hard on this scale to get accurate and full data. So what you have to get is representational data, okay? That will tell you, these are the trends, these are the general patterns. And even then, it might not be completely revelatory because it's not necessarily what we call random sampling. I'm getting into the science of it, but so it's not completely representative. But what it'll do is help you identify trends, okay, and patterns, which Sai's already told us from her own observations and her own questioning of her guests. She's already revealed, and others have talked about this too, revealed certain patterns, certain market niches, etc., that it could be a focus. Sorry. Who did you call it from Mississippi? Yeah, tell Mark that. So, based on what you, okay, jumping around because I'm so excited. Data collection, and this might be something that the town needs to seriously consider in the near future, if you're developing a market plan, for example. Who are our markets? And you know there's different ways to say it. We've been through the marketing course, and some of you have marketing experience anyway. So you can market segment, you can understand markets by geographics, where do they come from? By behavioristics, what do they do, and what do they want to do? By demographics, who are they, where do they live, how old are they, how much do they spend, etc. So, but you can also look at the market based on their consumptive patterns or the attractions they visit, products they consume, that sort of thing. And that's how we talk about different types of tourists. Family vacation tourists, resort-based tourists, adventure tourists, hunting, hiking tourists, this sort of things.
So, Dylan, before you go on, you talked about two possible projects. You called one a marketing plan and another a tourism development plan. Please explain what the differences in those two are.
A marketing plan is more specifically, how to increase visitation.
Okay.
Specifically, and that could be what you're most interested in. And it's more marketing, building awareness, using the internet.
All the different
Facebook,
channels.
all those channels, etc. Very advertising heavy. The tourism development plan is more, if you're looking at Trinidad or the county even as a region, how can we develop tourism throughout the region so it's just more equitable, more people have jobs, more the environment doesn't get hurt as we try to increase tourism, that sort of thing. So it's more of a community view. We're kind of mixing it all together today.
So both need to happen. Marketing needs to happen for the assets that are tourism ready,
I
that
think
we're
at
ready
this
to go.
point,
And then
marketing,
tourism development needs to happen for everything else.
yes.
Okay.
So I think kind of you looked at three things today. And I'm not trying to make this confusing because even though I'm confused most of the time, I think what we've seen is this internal marketing plan, and I don't even know if that's what it's really called. That's what I called it because that's what it is. I don't know if there's a different word for it. But this internal marketing plan where you're building cohesiveness within the community. Then there's a tourism marketing plan, which is trying to get people from the outside to your destination to participate in these things. And then there's the tourism development plan, which involves politics, policy development, rulemaking, stakeholder analysis, all these other things which you might not be prepared to do right, especially given CTO funding limitations and also your own funding and time limitations. So I think the most effective use of, I'm not telling you what their project should be, that's up to you guys. But if you wanted to develop some level of a marketing plan, that would be a doable start. So we're just trying to brainstorm and get as many ideas out there so that you can make an informed decision based on your own needs. And so sometimes we refer to these exercises as a needs assessment. Have you ever heard of a feasibility study?
Sure.
If you're identifying new types of tourism or new tourism assets that could be used as tourism resources, you might need to do a feasibility study.
That's what we're
Is it
doing
close
on
to
the highway legends right
expectation?
now
Is it,
for bicycle.
is there a market for that within the 150-mile radius? Is there, so those are things that are part of this feasibility study. Did you do a SWOT analysis?
We did with Christine.
Okay. So there's all these different exercises you can use to provide data to help you in your decision making. We're going to keep this fairly generic so that you can have time to think about what you want to do. And then, of course, Kathy and John, when they come back next week, or
The 15th.
2 weeks. So you got 2 weeks now to sort of mull this around and decide what uses all of this information is getting put together, and then they can help you hone in on a specific project.
Do we decide today what that project is gonna be, or
Yeah.
or do we wait till the
If you want, but I
15th?
don't think it's necessary.
I would kind of be interested before we break today,
To
while
get
this is
people
fresh,
started.
on what you guys think the next step is, knowing the difference maybe in a tourism development plan and a marketing plan.
And by the way, and it doesn't have to be this
And a-
grand thing, because a true tourism development plan can take months and months and months to develop.
The internal strategy we did this morning to market to residents, where are you guys leaning as what we complete on the 15th?
Or do you want to bring that up in an hour?
You want to bring it up in an hour? Okay.
Let's go ahead and talk about the data
Thank you.
needs first. Or
Okay.
So if you're collecting data, and I don't know, I don't have any authority here, but if you were to receive government grants as a community, this would be an effective use of resources. Would be to collect marketing data.
City just did that.
We did.
City's already done that.
Through the visitor center or through?
What
Private.
kind of-
It was a retail study.
Okay.
It was a retail study, it's a little
So
different.
this would be specific to the visitors?
Yeah, this retail study was all about just the community and where their money is going.
Oh, okay, well, that's good too. That
A
gives you-
leakage.
And leakage, okay. So I would suggest for a market analysis, that we go along with this resource analysis, you need to know who they are, where they're from, how much they spend, how long they plan to stay, the very basic questions that are building blocks that can help you make a decision on the next step you need to take in planning your tourism. So, if you're finding out that 78% of all your visitors come from Wisconsin, not likely, but that's something you didn't know before. You just assumed they were coming from New Mexico or Denver. So it could result in some surprises. It probably won't, because you guys seem to know your markets very well. But it'll give you hard data that you can then use as also a funding mechanism to say, look, we have data that show, 74% of our visitors come from New Mexico because of all the green stores around it, whatever it is. Okay? And so that's an interesting finding. Whereas maybe the community thought, well, no, we thought it was 70% came from Colorado Springs or Denver. So when you know your market, I think it can result in new actionable information. Yes,
However, most of us modern hotels can hit a couple keys and tell you where everybody came from zip codes.
that's true.
Yeah.
A lot
I
of
mean,
that
just as a
for
side
your
note.
property, right?
Yeah.
And that could supplement
Right.
part of the demographic.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great if I could get that information,
Yeah, come sit
my
with me.
directive marketing would be 10 times
Yeah.
better. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you go to town and you, what was your recommendation, I guess, because in the marketing world, I know how hard and expensive it is to gather this information, so to try to find out not only, I guess, where they're from, but what they're here to do, because I think that's one of the hardest parts, is to find out what they're here to do, and then, because then we can do directional and activity-based marketing.
Okay, let me back up just a little bit. It might require you to hire some outside marketing data collecting specialists who have this, who've done this sort of problem in similar communities throughout the country. So that might be something you have to think about. It
Does
might
the
not be
state
something that
not,
your own
does the
staff
state
can do.
not have some of these resources already?
They do.
I
You
thought
can
they
get it
said that.
through, universities are great partners, like, the city of, or URA Chamber, CAT, who.
Yeah, she was here
Okay.
first.
So they worked with, CU, School of Business, to do a survey on outdoor recreation.
That was the blueprint.
Yeah, exactly. So that was
I guess-
CTO funding and working with the university that then gave them data. So they crafted the survey.
I guess we're looking for more than survey though, because we get the same responses every time we do a survey.
Have you done one through the visitor center that's
Well,
actually?
my
structured
suggestion would be the visitor center.
Blueprint 2.0 survey.
Through the visitor center.
No, not through the visitor center.
Okay, so part of it has to do with where you do the survey and how you approach the survey. And this is what the specialists can really help you with, is the nuts and bolts of this. But if you did, say, a survey of, if you could convince all of the hotel managers, all of them, I don't know how many there are, there's probably about 15-ish hotels in town.
No, there's only, really 6 major hotels in town. Days Inn, and then the Trinidad Inn, which really has other rooms open now, so it would be considered number 6.
Okay, so if you could convince those 6 property owners to allow you, it's called spot surveys or intercept surveys. In other words, it's not a complete random sample, but if they would be, if they'd be willing to let you do surveys at their check-in desk. Or, you know, what works better at hotels we found is at breakfast time. Because people are leisure, they're more willing to do a survey if they're eating or than if they're checking in or out, because they're usually in a hurry, in or out. So sometimes we've done surveys at hotels in the breakfast area, for example. Because if they're sitting there, people drinking their coffee and having their donuts, they're a little bit more willing to sit and chat. That's one option. The visitor center is an obvious resource that could be used for collecting data. But also, it's not so much about just where they're from, how long we're going to stay, but it's more qualitative data too. Like, what are you planning to do while you're here? How did you hear about this? Or maybe they didn't hear about it, they just saw a sign by the side of the road.
So in addition to a marketing study, put that over here, maybe a tourism development plan, put that over there. Then a third thing we could look at is some sort of consultant that really honed down on who is currently visiting. Would that study also have the potential to talk to us about, in addition to who our current audience is, could that consultant also look at what our next target audience might be?
Yes,
Okay,
and that's the purpose of this baseline data and the
okay.
baseline data from our market study.
So what would you call that particular type of study? Would it be a visitor analysis?
Yeah, you could call it that.
Okay,
And so if you did a visitor analysis that allowed you to identify, again, the same as this, current market, where other markets you could tap into based on the resources you have.
okay,
So getting
That
back to
might be
family
really
example
valuable.
again, if family tourism has not been something that Trinidad has thought about, it's just kind of popped up,
right.
and you're finding out that, 47% of all your visitors come in family groups.
So I
There's a
think,
natural fit.
Well, and also like taking advantage of the data collection that the businesses and stuff are already doing. Like, for example, my staff asks, where are you visiting from and how did you find out about us? to everyone that comes in, so I can share that information. Zag clearly knows a lot about
Yeah.
her people coming in. I guarantee you,
Call our office
Della is
center.
talking to anyone that comes into
If
her
you
shop,
have,
you know?
if you could do this at multiple points, not just one,
Yeah,
Multiple.
that adds reliability.
Yes.
Second, the only challenge to that is, well, there's a few challenges to that, is that, that who's gonna be the person that consolidates all the data from all the various properties? From the museum.
that new hire.
From the museum,
No,
from the
that's,
museum,
that's
from
too,
the shop.
no, that's probably a
Utica
total
shop,
separate
from
deal.
the
Yeah.
restaurants, et cetera. So you have to find a way to say, so if you keep it at, say, like the hotels and if you identify the hotels, the museum, and the visitor center as your 8 spots to collect data, I think that would be good enough and manageable that you could collect the same data, because statistically, you have to have the same questions. You have to have the same data points.
And that's what I was wondering too, because someone over here brought up Bella Luna, and you brought up leisure, and I'm just wondering, and this might be totally stupid and not worthwhile, but if you had a card that went in with the ticket, so when you pay, it has like a little Trinidad survey card, like zip code you visited us from, main reason of visit. You know, I don't know the turnout of if people really fill those out or not, we'd have to like look into that. That's probably not something I would fill out,
Yeah.
but I'm like the worst survey person of all time.
Well, like if you go to a restaurant and they give you.
Tons of people that do feel that.
Survey, and then, do you ever do that?
Well, see, ours is built in, right now, when you have a hotel, it's built in, so all the major hotels, that you would wanna get the surveys from, they already have built in a Medallia program. And so every day through Medallia
500 cards we run.
and through Booking.com and TripAdvisor and all the other medias, I get about 30 responses a day.
Really?
It's a lot to manage, that's one of the things Garrett's gonna do for me, because it's gotten to be so much for me.
But if we chose one really,
They talk.
really vibrant restaurant like Bella Luna, and then we said, anybody who fills out this survey, like Vivek who's in there eating, fills out this survey would get $1 off, then the city could backfill that dollar back to the restaurant.
But then you also might want to differentiate between locals eating there and out-of-towners eating there.
I think it'd be really interesting to see what that mix is.
But he has a really good point about, we can't do any data analysis unless our data is consistent. And I think
Yes.
that's something that we have to realize is if we want to get all this data, we need to create a platform where it can be consistent, because we can't have one person doing it this way, one person doing it this way, or just use our whole data. and then
Yeah, it's gotta be the
research.
same question.
Yeah.
So, and so from a statistical point, that's exactly, that's what that consultant would really know how to do it.
Right.
That person would come in and say, okay, I've spent 3 days in town, I've looked around, I've identified these 4 spots as being the heavy traffic areas. We need to train you for your assistance, because you can't just let any server or any room cleaner do the survey. It has to be
Right.
somebody that knows how to do it.
There's sort of an aggregate way that you could sort of do that with just getting a feeling, and that is just to go to your TripAdvisor page and see what is being said about the town and certain amenities and the certain restaurants and certain places to stay.
That's a good way to start, yeah.
But those are
That'll
all,
actually help you, no, but that'll help you stimulate ideas to ask.
yeah.
And so that's what interviews are often used for. If you say, hey, can I talk to you for 5 minutes about your experience here? And you interview that visitor for 5 minutes, then you're jotting notes down saying, oh, well, she said this. Well, we could ask that on the survey. That's how you get survey questionnaire ideas, is from TripAdvisor, from Facebook, from interviews. And that's how often, and you don't want a long one because they're going to be disinterested. So if you had, say, 15 key questions, this is all part of what these consultants do, so I'm just giving you an example. Is if you have 15 key questions that will only take them less than 5 minutes to do, they're going to be more than good over 3 pages and 40 questions. Although it would be great to have all the extra information, but you also need a response rate. You need people to respond. So that's something to think about from a data needs perspective. But I would encourage you to consider a market analysis as you move forward, as maybe a good use of funding, city funding, state funding, whatever, to say, look, we could hire a marketing person to come in and do a market analysis, collect 400 surveys, interview 35 people. Because it'd be good to have the quantity, the numerical data for the surveys, but also some interview data, just because that's where you probe and say, so what do you think about this water potential that they have? That's all we love, we'll come here every summer, and spend a week. That's where you get the really good information that allows you to.
Would you recommend us to start paying to do online data gathering? So, I mean, through most websites or social media platforms, you can pay to find out where people are from, what they search
Well, it
to find
depends.
their place.
If you can program it so that it's people that have already been here,
Yeah.
instead of so that someone can just say, oh, I've heard of it, I drove through once, whatever. Do you mean?
Well, yeah, I guess I've done some optimized searching where you can find out, like, when someone, like, types in outdoor Trinidad and clicks on the Trinidad, something page, you can actually find out, like, this person from this region clicked on this when they typed in that type of stuff. It's pretty advanced stuff, but it's.
Well, that's probably because they want to go to Trinidad and Tobago.
Then,
In the Caribbean, good thing. You know,
so that's 3 different possible
yeah,
analysis, and the market analysis could be 2 different things. It could be visitor analysis, or it could be like a true market analysis for what your tourism assets could be.
and then put it together to match supply with demand.
So another possible project could be instead of a one-time analysis, it could be setting up data systems that were just consistently then, somebody actually to come in and set up those data systems that were then could, and able to be updated.
And by the way, when you're doing this kind of data collection so you can make marketing decisions, it's not a one-time thing.
No, it's gotta be a system.
Well, but
Yeah,
that's
it's
where I think your money's better spent setting up the data system than a one-time.
Yeah, exactly.
Visitor analysis.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the
I
data system is
truly
very
think
important.
that's,
Because it's extremely difficult to market here because it's all, when we hear, it's all anecdotal. It's all, oh, it's these people. But if we can get down to the nitty gritty where it's these people in this neighborhood, we're looking for the suburban neighborhoods in Amarillo that have an average of 80% kids in those neighborhoods. We can find that information online.
Yeah,
And then we can market to that neighborhood. So I guess it's those things instead of where we doing a more of a broader shoot, if we can do super targeted shoots, it's usually more effective.
so in the current hotel zip code system, I can put in 60619, which is a 4-block area in Chicago, and see how many people come up. I can put 606, and anybody that starts out with 606, so that means that general area, it'll tell me. And if I just put in 60, a bigger general area all the way down to 6,
Yeah,
If
that's the
you
type of.
come sometime and I'll sit with you. It's really enlightening when you see it. You actually see a little bit more movement than you think you do for, so we go where you think we're gonna go. We go to Texas and Oklahoma and all those places. But Southern California and the Great Lakes region is about even.
Interesting.
Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin
Well-
is
Snowbird related again?
snowbirds related again.
Minnesota and Wisconsin, I see them a lot in my store.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so I guess those are the things that we need very specific
Right.
targeted data on, because then I can go on and say, we're gonna do an online ad in this zip code, we're gonna do Facebook advertising in this zip code,
See,
we're
there
gonna
you
get
go.
to the newspaper.
So not all the data has to be expensive.
Pardon me?
Not all the
Not all the
data.
data collection has to be expensive.
So,
You already have it.
so just so we can like center, I know, are you still kind of running through the questionnaire, Dal? Because something's like coming to mind.
Please, what-
So we have one more day with our consultants after we finish today, and just kind of talking about what the direction might be for us. If we could come out of this with an idea of, from you guys, our stakeholders, of where you think the next steps ought to go in building this foundation of a tourism program. So it may be that we come out of on the 15th with a general idea of how to take lodging tax for next year and invest it immediately in some safe channels to market Trinidad. It might be that we're putting some dollars into a local marketing campaign to try and build local participation in our assets. It might be It might be, here's what you should do with a portion of the lodging tax to market, but here are the studies and the things that we think come next, and kind of a general overall order. So that if we can come out of the 15th with a deliverable of something that gives tourism board direction in the next 60 days, because budgets are due to city management's office on August 1. So hiring a consultant and completing a large project, we really hope to come out of this craft initiative with some direction on next year, maybe even into the next year. But the other part of that is we also have $10,000 as part of this program that tourism board can then market, that tourism board can then match with some funding to do one of these consultant studies, to do something immediately so we can start putting together what a bid package would look like for that consultant project
And that could be
next.
your project.
So, yeah, and I don't want to drive that. I want them to be thinking about, we've got a couple of options here, you know,
But
marketing
what you're saying
plan.
is matching your income, your bed tax income, with a manageable project. That's a good way to approach it.
So I think,
Could be your final project.
I think what I want to just make sure everybody understands is we don't want to come out of the 15th without something actionable that we can take to immediately implement next year. This year's lodging tax is spent, everything's encumbered. I think you guys are probably tired of me saying this, I keep saying it over and over again. You know, we want some direction for next year, but I didn't want you to lose sight of that we also have, as part of this program, $10,000 that we can take and use, and it's not a required match, but tourism would have some money to put with that if we needed to accentuate that 10,000 to do some component. So I just kind of wanted you to be thinking about that. And maybe by the time we leave today, if we can have some idea of which direction you're going without holding you to that, hopefully you can come back on the 15th and help us complete the project. So does anybody have any ideas of what they think?
I think if, to pay someone to set up this data allocation, so to find out what all the hotels use, so that monthly, the hotels can just send us the spreadsheet, and then we can put it into a different spreadsheet that tells us all the regions that our people come in, age groups that that people are in, and then we can he can also set up some type of survey that we're putting out to the main locations in the community, but so that we can actually find out this data, because that will then let us use the money for next year to be marketed in the right direction. And
Yeah, I agree, and so it's really cool, and I don't want to forget the train of thoughts when we get together, is that I can actually put in last week, so if we had the Blues Fest, I can tell you where most of the Blues Fest people came from,
Now
or
that's,
most of
see,
the
now that's,
Arcade people
that's
came from.
the key.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's key, because
yeah,
if you're
So,
targeting a specific, we make sure that, yeah, that's
or
interesting.
it's the summer season.
But I would still recommend this as supplementary.
Mhm.
So these are data that you can generate every month or whatever. But I still think that for a community this size that wants to develop tourism, I think say every 3 or 4 year bigger study at those key surveying.
I think that there's a lot to be said about, and I'm not arguing against that idea, I'm actually in support of that. And if the data collection helps inform the longer plan, then that's great. But I do think that a tourism development plan is probably what we also need to be thinking about in the long term.
I think you need to get a master consultant who can work with us so that we're not still just, we're not moving. We need to build.
Right, I think so, this immediate thing is definitely needed, but not to turn our backs on this idea that we need a long-term
We need a
plan.
long-term
Saying-
consultant that comes in and helps us do it. Like the gentleman, whether you use him or someone else.
Right.
From the first day or whenever he
The marketing
spoke.
day, yeah.
I just think that is just, there, success in business. I was once told by a very brilliant lawyer who's now deceased. The most successful business person is the one who is not afraid to hire someone that's smarter than they are. And I think that's,
And I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is I agree with everything Andrew said. So let's say we go down the line and we pay for this consultant and we set up this data system. we still need some sort of plan on how to implement that data. You know what I'm saying? It's
But
not
there has
just,
to be
I
somebody
think they're
out there.
phased, like, if we hire the big consultant, he's gonna want the data.
Yeah.
right, that's what I'm talking,
He needs
this
the
is,
data.
this is what I'm trying
The league
to,
council set up the data collection too.
Yeah,
can they,
I have his card, I forget who's.
The guy that did that, we had two marketing, different people. I think it was Dave.
Yeah, it was Dave, I have his card.
so go through with your thought, Greg, Jeff, complete your
so no,
thought.
just that fundamentally, we need the data collection system. And then some things are gonna reveal out of that, that are actually achievable short-term within our means. And other things are gonna require a little more analysis, like, okay, we're gonna need a solid tourism development plan that
Right,
is really looking out there. And that, yeah, maybe some added horsepower to really drive this home, because it's hard to do this with volunteers around tables, right?
right,
But fundamentally, we gotta get the data going. So, short-term,
so
we
you're thinking
need the,
data,
we need-
tourism development, and that informs marketing.
Because I think we can do the data with $10,000 to $15,000.
Well, you know, maybe, but I don't wanna be led by what it's gonna cost, I wanna be led by the thought process, and then we'll figure out how to fund it.
Well,
so
'cause what else?
there's data, but in the meantime, so let's say 2019 is data collection year, but we still
Okay.
need to identify within this project, what are the short-term, like, known deficiencies in our marketing? Like, there's just stuff that's sitting right there in front of us that we need to address for
Right,
that lodgers tax can do. We don't need a consultant, quite frankly, tell us some of those things, they're pretty
Right.
obvious. So let's do those, let's collect the data, and then it's really like, all of that gets unfolded in 2020, when the consultant's got the full plan, and so.
so what might come out of
Right.
this tourism craft 101 is this data collection might be the deliverable.
data
And
collection,
then maybe
that
next
money is-
year, we apply for the craft 201 to fund the tourism
Yeah.
development plan.
That would be
Right?
great.
So that would be the progression then, is this group comes out with next year's marketing plan for tourism investment in marketing. And then we potentially look at a data collection for the deliverable from this $10,000, maybe enhancing that.
But what I guess I'm asking you is, if Cy has the data, you're not paying her for that.
Well, but I think that's only one point of interest, and we don't even know if that particular point, it may tell us who's driving up and down the highway. I'm not sure it tells us who our visitor is. I think it's one component of what we need.
Doesn't necessarily say why.
And it doesn't probe into their motives.
Yeah.
It doesn't probe into how long it's taking.
Well, that, for short term, this is, you
Yeah.
keep,
Yeah,
you're
short term,
saying
we need the short
between
term.
now and August.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. And I'm just asking why it should cost 10 to
Oh,
15,000.
no, don't
for
even,
that.
and correct, thank you for clarifying that. The 10 to 15,000, set that aside. What we need for August is for the brains in this room to decide what we have on the ground that's tourism ready that we want to go to market with for this next year. Because we'll be doing those ad buys this late summer and fall.
And then if we're doing data for what reason? So then there are other hotels and they have their own market segment, the Peace Hotel.
Yes.
They're on and then we have the Frontier, and then we have some of the Main Street hotels. And so that if you were just collecting that data versus the other data, you know.
It's
Different
completely different.
demographics.
Right.
And that's why we need to get all the data. That's the hard part, is getting every hotel has a different system too that they collect their data
Who do you
with.
want to attract more people that want to stay at the,
Pizza or
Pizza
the
Hotel.
bed
Yeah,
and
It's a lot of
breakfast.
jobs, I'm
Just
just
saying.
saying. It's a lot of employment opportunities.
so where are we gonna market? Are we gonna take in consideration the people that are staying at the Frontier Motel and advertise to that section? Or are we gonna take the people who have obviously more disposable income because they're staying at the other hotels and try to market to them? And then, you know, that's all kind of crazy too.
Well, and at least.
Well, and
you
if
see-
you had a high-end 420 friendly hotel, would they all be staying there?
Right,
Right, we're not exactly sure where their income
Right.
is following,
right,
you know?
right.
Because even if like cannabis is your motivation, what's all the other motivations,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like what, you know what I mean? Like you
There's
can buy
really
cannabis in a lot of places in Colorado. What cannabis is here? What other things are here? What did you? when you were here for cannabis, what did you run into that you thought was really great that you can then tell other people about?
Right.
You know, like, I agree, let's not pretend that a lot of tourism is because of cannabis, but we can expand that out.
Then, yeah, because
No, but I see them all day long, people coming, that are staying medical, we're a smoke-free hotel, so they can smoke up on the deck, but there's no smoking in the hotel. That's a different caliber of a person, right or wrong, than somebody that's gonna come into town and they're gonna look for the cheapest room they can find and do recreational marijuana. It's just a different sector.
What do you guys think about where we go next?
Yeah.
Kind of the conversation we're having. Not to put you on the spot, but I'm trying to.
Well, I think that we should have, just like with any project, you have to have your baseline data
Okay.
to know, to be able to measure. And that's kind of capital. If we have that, then we know 5 years from now, we can look back and say, oh, well, we accomplished this and we didn't.
So if we find out that there's a lot of people who are coming up here and looking for outdoor rec, that means that we need to build more outdoor rec because they're already coming up here to look for it. Or if we find a lot of people that are coming up here to look for architecture, maybe we need to try to invest in an architecture tour downtown. So we need to find what people are looking for so that we can invest that money into businesses that are doing what people are looking for as well.
That's what the marketing data is all about.
What did you think? You're with.
I would say also another demographic of folks are from Chicago, ages 30 to 50. What are you going to do with that information? What are you going
Right.
to actually, what's the content that you're going to market?
Right.
So
It would
there's
probably-
two things happening, right? There's the data collection, but there's also creating that foundation for the marketing plan,
Their
having that
intent.
inventory of assets
Their
and knowing
intent.
what is currently visitor ready to then market in the next X number of months.
So back to you guys, so it sounds like we're really honing in on what our next step would be with kind of our project money. But backing up to what we need to accomplish on the 15th, that gives us some direction immediately. Can you walk us through what the next step will be with Kathy and Jada and how we'll take the information that we've got to maybe come out of that Tuesday with an investment plan for lodging tax dollars for just 2019?
So what's your thought on that?
Is it 2019
Well, I mean,
or is it
originally-
from now until August?
It's 2019, but we have to have the plan now until August. Because August 1, we have to be able to say, in 2019, we're expecting to bring in $270,000.
Okay.
Here's how we're gonna invest that. And we don't have to know the exact channel, but we need to be able to say, okay, are we doing billboards? Are we kind of doing online input into the best spend for these dollars for us in the short term? And then back to us to say, okay, here are the marketable things that we have going on. So we may put together a collection of about 8 or 9 things that we know we have
But
on
you're
the
not
ground.
wanting to hire a consultant for that?
No, for that, because we'll have to present budgets within 60 days. We have to have the plan for 19. Something that staff can implement. Something that, with our consultants' help, we can walk out feeling like we've got a good plan for that. So I'm sorry to confuse the two, but yes, you're correct. No consultant help with that. That's immediately to come out of this initiative.
Yeah, this initiative right now is the CTO's gift to you. So that what the product of Craft 101 is some sort of actionable project.
I guess I misunderstood because I understood that day when they presented that, they said that 10,000 could, for instance, be used to hire a consultant to do the overall
For next,
plan.
yeah. for-
It will be, but say we finish this on May 15th. So, okay, clarify
So
for
I
me.
think your confusion is, so there's the $10,000 to go towards some type of marketing effort that's given to us through the CTO. Tara also wants to come out of this with a plan to implement the tourism tax dollars for 2019. So they're
Two separate things. Complete a plan to go into action.
That's what I'm.
Yeah. So we want something immediately out of this so that you've spent time investing in how we're gonna spend that tax dollar for next year.
So, oh, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
So would it be a benefit to you, like those of us that are working in tourism, like the outdoor rec representative or sustainable tourism, to sort of come on the 15th with like a business proposal? Like, this is how I believe you can best market heritage tourism in Trinidad as the heritage tourism rep.
And I'm hoping that the
Then I think that would be great.
Yes.
Because when John and Kathy come back, they're just gonna try to finish this off, and take it to the next level and help you finalize the project. And I don't think, what is the August 15th deadline?
I have to, as the director, have all the budgets to the city manager on August 1. So
Ideally-
the tourism fund budget for next year in draft form has to go to city manager on August 1, and then October 1 it goes to council, but it's generally to council in September.
Thank you.
So there's no time to implement the $10,000, although that is something I think this group should decide. I think we kind of just decided what that would be used for, but there's no time to do that for next year's marketing plan.
However, I guess with the little asterisk, like,
Okay,
as we put money in buckets for advertising,
right?
and the data project is falling on the heels, that data project may start spitting out ideas
It
that
may.
then inform those dollars.
It may.
That turn the buckets into little holes inside the buckets, so we
Right.
can target all the holes inside the buckets.
So
Because the
maybe,
10,000, we can turn around, we can get that, pull that trigger pretty quickly.
what we say is, maybe it would help you to give you the history of how it's been spent in the past year, so kind of what the direction we're looking at. So if we are anticipating getting about $275,000, let's take about 80,000 off the top, 10 for the trolley. So we're probably at $80,000 of spend. So this last year, 62,000 of the 80 was spent in print advertising, and the rest was spent in billboards. Okay, so the print advertising this last year was national advertising. And I think when the tourism board looked at how that national print advertising and billboards were, we talked about a new strategy. Type of ad. It didn't drive toward a particular traveler or a particular, I can tell you that the national publications that it went in were very generic. They were large newspaper type publications, so they weren't specific journals like, say, you wanted to advertise to birders. Years ago, the tourism board used to put an ad in Audubon, and they saw a huge number of birders come along the Colorado Bird Trail. So I think rather than doing a generic national print advertising and billboards, if we keep the billboards and we look at about $60,000, that's really where we're down to. How do we invest the $60,000? Do we invest it in certain channels? And do we invest that $60,000 with heritage in mind? Because the Santa Fe Trail, do we do an advertising thing about Visit Trinidad and the Santa Fe Trail just for next year to get our name and keep our name out there? Do you want to continue to do the generic ad maybe for the 15th? Raven can bring examples of the ads that we've put out there so you can get an idea of what those ads are saying. And I guess if you want us to continue to invest in that same way, then that's very easy to do, right?
Yeah.
But am I saying this
No,
kind of
yeah,
size
the goal is to get actually cheaper.
And that's where you need the marketing data.
That's right.
And a plan.
But we may not have that when we
Not in the
initially
beginning. Not in the
begin,
beginning.
No, but
right?
if we can get the plan by the time 2019 starts, because the good thing about targeted marketing versus sort of the shotgun approach requires 6 months in advance having your stuff in, because it's such a big publication. A lot of the stuff, when you're targeted, is a lot shorter time span because you're working directly with that system. It's not as big of an organization because it's a lot more targeted.
So there's, So there's sort of two questions at play. One is sort of the content and the target, and one is the outlet. So, we could put money in Pandora Radio, we could put money in Texas Monthly Magazine, we could put deadline. Can we say it's channel specific and it's under consideration in terms of what that message is going to be in those channels? Is
So
that what's gonna
if
be
Texas
presented?
Monthly is what you want, we have to book that now for next year.
Right.
So it may be that we don't have any print media that has to be booked. We could probably do, once we get the marketing.
Okay.
Now, Tourism Board will make that initial discussion, so it's not like decide how that's invested, because in the past 2 years, we've done a lot. Now, on February this year, the print advertising. But when I guess what I'm saying is that I think it was between the Murphys and the Hesses, there was a period of time want to see evenings, and so to what asset management and marketing, if you could bring until we have a thoughtful data-driven plan.
I've said that before a couple of years ago.
Plan of implementation for external marketing, but what's still missing is that foundation of what you're going to market. What are your, what are those big topics that you can market? What do you want to market? What's important? Like 2019, focused on have something that you can actually look at and
Where you're going, it seems good. I mean, it's good. That could be your project from the craft.
Started today with looking at a couple of things like last Friday, utility bills. It could be back to some expense that would be related to that.
So if you wanted, based on some of the stuff we talked about. Like you said, you want to take some of the money out of that budget for those flyers that go in the bills. Based on the initial data that's free right now. That's a great start. Budgetary line items to say, now we're in a position where we can bring Dave from Denver
Right.
to come in and help us develop a midterm, by the way, things like that. That's probably a very good timeline. Last time we were here.
There
No,
is
but I'm
somebody.
cooking again tonight, I'm teaching Garrett how to cook tonight.
Why touch the
I have to
stove?
be there in about a half an hour and I have to go. And we get really bogged down.
Be there.
Bogged down.
That would be a special project. It's gonna be expensive. It's gonna be, that consultant's gonna be.
I think it was Dave that said he works with different budgets.
But he-
It's,
Yeah.
I'm sure it was.
60,000 into an internal and external marketing campaign does
a master plan, because otherwise, we're gonna be doing this again in 6 weeks or a year. I've been coming in that, and we don't get beyond the talk, and I think it's time to put our money where our mouth is and get to work.
implement.
Get
And it
to
seems
work.
like knowing this by the summer of next year so that we can vet the data and have it presented to.
Started in January. Then we would be set up next year when we're doing the budgeting conversation.
If there's a will, there is a way.
Yeah.
I mean, you just gotta kick the tires and say, and it's not a be-all, end-all. It's
It's a continued space. Planning is always.
Yes.
Could it go for a tourism development plan? It's not exactly a marketing plan.
Information stay within this room because
Sure.
I'm not supposed to say.
No, I'll talk to Elizabeth afterwards because that is coming up in the fall.
But see, that's something that you can, and then the next step is a broader plan.
The master.
Master plan, product.
Okay, great.
I didn't get permission to be on.
I didn't know I was unmuted, but
I think
Oh, you're
this
so
counts as a
photogenic,
public.
come on.
Right? I think this counts as a public stage.
Vivica, I think that this is,
I hope
and
so.
the reason I say that is because this is the immediacy of it is, I'm not sure what their timeline is, but I think it's over the summer. This is good, because you're all on the same wavelength now, and I think the purposes of the city government budgeting, that August the 15th. And we're not beholden.
Given that this is the direction we're going.
Sector, her. I want to bring, basically, here's who I think would be most effective to market for an asset.
But we've done a lot of that over these past number of days, so is there a distilled, where's all that information that's
Jill has
data
that.
captured? Okay.
So we'll,
Took pictures of all the scribble pads,
Okay.
and she's
If
got,
we could get it like,
aren't all necessarily directly related to your project.
right.
These are more community education. Should create this project.
And I think, Jeff, down to distill, we're going to market the Trinidad History Museum events, but we need most effective. Vivek has said over and over that the Santa Fe Trail has type brand that we can market ourselves along. You know, I'm not.
So if you think like, if you think like, oh, we can, effective to reach
So
these
Tim, what do we
artists.
look at?
okay, so yeah, so it's that dual.
Existing company.
Not necessarily Viking, because it's really need to answer about
You don't have to.
radio, print.
But you have to describe.
And when you were in your group discussions and you joined for potential news, and you joined for potential new products and new things that could be developed. Just for the next 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
ATVs, because we don't really have, I know that. And so,
Okay, so then you have to.
no, that's
You
for
have to
sure.
go through that process.
But it was just an untapped.
Okay.
Center and people were asking her and she saw people coming through
Oh, yeah.
and they've worked with the on
The Destination
the
Development
committee,
Committee.
and they've done an amazing job kind of tapping that.
You think is tourism ready?
Yeah. What are the markets?
And what kind of figure out where we're going.
Strings together.
Yeah.
And then what the consultants might be able to provide.
2 weeks from now.
We should be marketing to right now, today.
So for an example, And so we're gonna market like that type of aspect, and then what's an example that I would think is like, or the
highest class turquoise
So
there is.
her store is, I would stand up again.
So now, so if we say, okay, maybe that's something we can market. Trinidad has the best turquoise store in the country. Like, you know,
Well, and so like, I'm gonna bring to the table.
Yes,
So this is,
Okay,
this is who I would like to see more of, and the way in which I believe the city can help.
Right.
How did you
And how
do
you
that
can
one more
help.
time, Kirby?
I believe my visitor currently is, and how the city can help me reach those visitors.
Because we all have to have, this morning about, or this afternoon about, you continue to want to go. So that's what marketing is, it's all.
And then what that does for us to make the public investment of the city. This way, because what we heard from our community stakeholders is this is the visitor that's coming. To attract that visitor and satisfy them. And then
type of people, because she thinks these are the people who come here and these are the channels, and we'll see, wait, Kirby's attendance went up 20% when we put marketing in this channel. That was a success, or
more money in the successful channel,
Well,
once
and
we
it's
know
an
what
easy
that
win,
is.
right? Because if you get, all of these people are coming and they want this from Tim, and I'm saying, all these people are.
it's going to be, it's
That's
going to
right.
be a dichotomy.
That's right, so when somebody new comes into Kirby's and they are talking about what Trinidad has to offer, she's you know, and now they've got two activities, or the shopping that's downtown, and so now we're beginning to offer.
Client who comes every 6 weeks, stays with site, does take. They bring their bicycles, not mountain bikes, but they want paths in very specific. And it led me to ask, because I said, where else can we bike? All of us can find out more things from our.
Will develop and have data behind it. And
That's
that would be so
Objective.
helpful.
And those bikes, will they be down there?
I'm hoping they'll be done being painted in the next week to week and a half, so I'm hoping they'll be installed by the. I have some points and I just have to talk to Tom Beach to get. Bike rack will look so that we can,
Awesome.
we don't break any ADA.
They start here and go to animal.
You can
Awesome.
park your bike every block.
And the sidewalks are wet enough.
Yes. Yes. Kirby has agreed to host us again, so we'll be right back in this space, okay?
And I'm
That was real shout for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not Raven, who took the notes.
Yes, we're gonna.
Hi,
Kirby did,
Kirby.
Kirby took the notes that are right there.
They're timing right now.
And I think those stay with me.
Those two types also?
We like stuff like stuff, so.
Okay, because we can leave those with you too, if that makes.